Hello, hello, beautiful. How are you today? Welcome. Today we are talking about creating small steps when organizing. And this came up because one of my members in the Path membership had asked that she has no time to complete her projects. She says, help. So when I was thinking about how to explain to her some ideas for getting through all the projects that she had, this topic came up and I thought it would be perfect to share with you. So, we are talking today about creating small steps when organizing and not just creating them, but how to incorporate them into your everyday. So, we want to make sure that we can incorporate these into your day as easily as possible because we talked last week about actually creating the small steps, right? So I talked about how to make things into the small steps is really busy, right? So incorporating these small steps into your day is kind of the part 2 of this series. So really quickly, I wanted to say hi. I see Peg is here. Welcome, Peg. Good to see you again. And Rita's here again. Good morning, Lenore from New York. Good to see you, Lenore. And Karen from New England. Awesome. And if you don't already know, if you're not part of the Paper Path course, Lenore is an extremely talented artist, and she shared a bit of her art as one of the little bonuses in the Paper Path course. So if you have the Paper Path course, then make sure to see if you can find that Easter egg of Lenore's artwork in the course. It's absolutely beautiful and inspiring with a motivating quote. Karen's here. Hi, Karen. Good to see you. And Lori from Ohio. Lynn, and we have Jane is here, and Nancy from Colorado, and Paula's here, and Kathy's here. Love, love, love it. Welcome, welcome. All right, so I'm going to give you 3 of my top tips for how to incorporate these small steps into your day. Then, if you are a Path member, then over in your member Facebook group, in the Campfire group, or in your online library, I will give you 4 additional tips on how to incorporate these into your day. So as a member, you'll get bonus content. I'm sort of restructuring it. So these main public videos will have some really good solid tips. And then I will continue with extra tips for the members in a video right afterwards over in the private members group. So you get a little bit of bonus content there. Well, a lot of bonus content. You'll get 4 extra. All right, so I mentioned this all came up because one of the Pathfinders, the Path members, said that she has no time to complete the projects that she has. And I can relate to that. Let me know in the chat if you know how that is, where there's just too many projects and not enough time to do them all. So how do you handle when you've got so many projects? Well, the best way to do this, aside from, really making sure that you need all those projects and eliminating any that you can, a lot of times we can't, or we don't want to, because sometimes they're ones that we want to do. Breaking them down into tiny steps throughout the day, rather than viewing them as huge projects, can help you get through them. So we talked last week, like I mentioned, about how to break some things down into small steps. What is the how? How do you create the small steps? And then today we're going to focus on how to work those small steps into your day-to-day life, and we'll still cover a little bit of how to create the small steps as far as incorporating them. Really quickly, I want to say, I see Me. That's the name. Me is here. And Lady, she says she finally got into the chat. Yay, I'm so glad. Welcome, Kim. And Jane says she can absolutely relate to having too many projects and not being able to get them done. So one way, if you are trying to declutter or have any type of project where you're making decisions, but mostly decluttering, making your decisions throughout the day as you come across things can make a huge difference in your home. So for example, as you go through your day-to-day, as you come across items, ask yourself some of those decision-making questions as you come across those items. And if you aren't sure about what the decision-making questions are, check out the list or the series that I did in January and February on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And I have a 5-part decision-making questions video series, and that will help you out. But make those decision-making questions as you come across items. So An example of this is a little while ago, I was reaching to grab my Instapot, which I love my Instapot. We call it the Harry Potter because we're Harry Potter fans. But I was reaching to grab the Instapot and I noticed behind it, I had this huge, it's this crock pot, or not a crock pot, but this cooking pot. And it's super heavy metal cooking pot that I got because I used to, make chilies in it and stews and all those types of things. Well, when I pulled out the Instapot and I saw that, I thought, when was the last time I used it? That's one of the declutter questions, right? So I thought, when is the last time I used that big, heavy metal pot? Because it is cumbersome. It's hard to clean. It's heavy to pick up and put away. And then I realized I'd not used it probably in at least a year. So my next question was, do I have something else that I can use to do the same thing? And I realized, yeah, while I'm holding it, the Instapot can do a lot of the same thing. And I've got a larger pot that's not as heavy. It's a bit easier to clean and easier to handle. So after asking myself those two decision-making questions, I realized I really don't need that pot anymore because my life has changed, my needs have changed. So that was something that I took out right then and put in the donate bin. So if you're doing that throughout your day, and as you come across things, you're asking declutter questions and those decision-making questions, then it's going to be so much easier to slowly just declutter your home without the effort and without making it a project. So you'll notice this pot was like this big. So I just saved that much space in my kitchen without doing an organizing project. It took me maybe a minute and I saved that much space. And if you're doing that on a consistent basis, then you're going to be saving more and more and more space, decluttering more and more, and you'll get used to asking those questions on a regular basis. So I've been doing this for so long that those questions automatically come up in my brain now because I'm used to asking them regularly. Now, in the declutter question series, we mentioned having cards that you can print out, create your own cards with the questions, and maybe tape some of your hot button questions up around your house until you're used to asking those. But asking those declutter decision-making questions as you go throughout your day, as you come across things, whether it's a pencil eraser or a large pot in the kitchen, that's going to help declutter your home without making it a project. So that was tip number 1 on how to incorporate small steps into your day. So instead of a huge organizing project, you can be decluttering every day as you're just doing your normal work. And remember, share this video. So hit the share button, copy the link, paste it in your social media, however you can share it. The more you can share the video, the better, the more videos I can do for you. Sound good? So please share it with anybody that you think would like it. All right, so Lori says that she can absolutely relate to having so many projects and not enough time to do it. And Erzi says, what if I have a back injury and can't move very much? My projects are waiting. Anything I can do? Absolutely. So sometimes some of the projects have to kind of sit on the back burner because it's just physically impossible. So if organizing your kitchen is one of your projects and you have a back injury, then right now organizing your kitchen will be a lot more difficult. But you can still be making those decision-making questions as you go through your day. So if organizing your home and decluttering is one of them, then maybe you only ask the decision-making questions on the things within reach that you actually see. So when you go to take your bath, maybe in the bathroom, when you open the linen closet to grab a towel, just look around and see if there are any towels that you're no longer using or that are too ratty. Maybe you could let go of one or two. As you're making your breakfast, when you open the cabinet, maybe just see if you see anything behind that first layer of dishes that you're not using as much and pull those out. And you can just add these things to a donation bin. You don't have to drop off the donations right then. Just have an ongoing bin, which I'll talk about in the campfire group, but an ongoing bin that will make it easier. So that's how you can do that type of thing. Some of these tips will also talk about papers, which might help you too. Good question. All right, so we said ask those decision-making declutter questions throughout your day as you come across items. Another way is to break it down into purposeful times where you can do a quick task. And by quick task, I mean any of those small steps that we talked about how to create last week. So one example of this, you've heard me talk about these before. These are the small step home organizing cards, right? And the concept behind these, and you can create your own. If you wanted to grab your pack, it's on my website in the store tab, so SuzannaKaye.com, and then click on the store tab. But any type of small step that you can do, you can create your own deck of cards if you wanted to write down your small steps, but just pull one. So for the cards, one of the best ways to do it is maybe while your coffee is brewing in the morning, and I do this sometimes now with these cards just to maintain, because even once you're decluttered, there's always more coming in. But maybe while your coffee is brewing, you just randomly pull a card that says, pick one item in your laundry room to let go of. So while that coffee brews, head over to your laundry room and find one thing that you no longer need. Whether it's garbage now, donate, doesn't matter. Just find the one thing and then you're done. That's simple enough, right? So that's the nice thing about the small step cards. They turn it into a game and they let you be done after just a minute or two. So if you have more time, then sometimes you get on a roll and you keep going, right? If you have extra time, then maybe you go in to find the one thing in the laundry room and you find 5 things. Or you get on a roll and you're having fun and you have the time and you keep going and you organize a section of the laundry room. Sometimes these kind of kickstart you if you're in the right mood. But the great thing is it can seriously take just a couple minutes each day and it's going to declutter your home one tiny step at a time. So instead of a big project, again, while your coffee's brewing, you're already standing around waiting, might as well do something. So whether it's small step cards, which, like I said, you can go to SuzannaKaye.com, click on the store button and you can find those there. Or if you create your own, if you have a project that you're working on, make your own cards, grab some index cards and write out the small steps that you want to do, one on each card, and each day pull one. So there are various ways to do that. Just as a note, if you are on the Facebook group and it's not showing your name in the comments, then if you just go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give it permission, then it will show your actual name. Sometimes we have where it does not show the people's names. And that's just kind of an FYI. That link is also in the description. Okay, so far we talked about ask decision-making questions throughout your day as you come across things. So this is ongoing throughout your day and it just takes a minute and actually I do both. You can do something like small step cards, create your own or buy your own. And just when you have 5 minutes, grab a random card. This one says find 6 rags that you no longer need and let them go. I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to make a lot of things into rags and sometimes end up with too many. So that's a great way to declutter some of the rags. Perfect. So click the heart, comment, tell me if you're enjoying this so that I know. But also, Lady says she loves these cards. Yes, you got the small step cards, and I'm so glad that you're loving them. I've heard such great things that people have said about them. Love, love, love it. Jane says, I've been using the small step cards every day, and it really helps me in this decision making. Yay! Erzy says, thank you, because talking about the back problems. Thank you. That's encouraging. You're so welcome, and I do hope that your back injury heals soon. I've had a serious back injury before, and I know how it just connects to everything. So sending big hugs and healing support to you. Lori says, I keep going through the cards, the small step cards, until I find one that has an item I'm willing to let go of. That's funny. That works, though. Today, I chose 5 pieces of paper to shred. I actually have about 100 pieces of papers that I will shred. Yay! That's fantastic. Yeah, use the cards however they work for you. Cindy says, I've not done much since I've been sick. Yes, when you're sick, sometimes you have to just step back and give yourself some grace. So whether it's the back injury or sickness, or sometimes we're just going through so much, sometimes you can still work things into your day, like the one step, and that'll give you that feeling of a win. You'll be like, well, at least I got something done today. And it just takes a minute and a lot of energy. But sometimes you just need to focus on healing. And that's okay too. Remember, sometimes we're in a phase of life. It's not a permanent way of being. But during that phase, we might need to take care of ourselves a little bit more. Karen and Lynn are showing some love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I said that there would be 3 steps, right? We talked about ask decision-making questions as you go throughout your day. We talked about the small step cards and figuring out what your small steps are and purposely finding some times to just take a minute and do one small step. This works with things like the paper path course, all of that. Anything that's broken down into small steps, you can do one quick small step. And then the third one, keep it easy to access. So if you have a project and you're able to break it down into small steps, sometimes if like for one, focus on one project at a time. If you're going to keep it easy to access, then you want to make sure not to have 10 projects out in bits and pieces. But keeping your project easy to access means that you can hop in and out of doing it as you have time. So you can do this with larger projects that are a one-time project, and you can do this with ongoing projects. So let's talk about those two examples. So for me, I have a Glowforge, which is this laser cutter that cuts wood, which is really fun. So I made, like, for example, this is one of the things that I was able to make with it. It's just wood and it slides into itself and I glue pieces together and all that. So I like to create things with my Glowforge sometimes, but they can become big projects because I have to design it, then cut it, then I have to sometimes sand it down, then I have to paint it, then I have to glue it. So there's a lot of steps to it, right? Now, if I have time, I could sit down and do the whole project. Like this would probably take me several hours to sit down and do start to finish, probably longer than that with the gluing, but it would take a while, right? Sometimes we have the time, but sometimes we want to do it in pieces. So when I'm doing a project like this and I don't have the time for the full project, what I do is I will do one piece, like I will design it and then I'll walk away, or I'll design part of it. Maybe I'll just design the base and then walk away because that's all I have time for. And then I leave my design computer that has my design program on it out on the dining room table. So every once in a while I leave the file open and everything. I just open the computer, hop in, do a little design work, close it when I am out of time and walk away. And then the next step might be, okay, I'm going to quickly cut it out on the Glowforge. And then maybe my next step that I would leave this out and maybe, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to grab the paintbrush. I'm going to quickly just paint the yellow background and not the other part. And I would just have a little box with all the pieces in it and the yellow paint and a brush, and then just quickly do that and then walk away. So I'm breaking this down into small steps, but I'm leaving this out. So I'm not having to, do a big project with all sorts of supplies, pull it out and then put it all back away. And sometimes by leaving it out, I have a shelf that I can just put it in a little box, slide it into the shelf. So it's not even something I'm seeing, but it's easy to pull the box out because all the parts are right there for me to just do a quick step and then walk away. So that's one example if it's a one-time larger project, like a craft project. Now, if it's an ongoing project, such as if you have a lot of papers to sort, and we talk about this in the paper path course. So in the paper path course, we have an entire section about sorting papers and how to do a quick sort, how to use the onion method, and how to break it down into super small steps, because sorting papers can take time, but it does not have to be a project where you sit down and do an hour or more. You can break it down into 5-minute chunks. And one way to do it is keeping it easy to access. Maybe you have a keep bin and a go bin, and you're like one small pile of papers to sort. And every time you walk past it, maybe you grab a handful and quickly sort into keep or go. So that's one way it's easy to access. You have 3 small bins and just keep or go every time you walk past. Or maybe you have your shredder. If you have a lot of papers to shred, keep the shred pile right next to the shredder. And maybe it's in a hallway or somewhere that you walk by. Every time you walk by, maybe you just grab one paper and put it in the shredder. And if you're doing that every time you walk by, especially in a busy area, it's going to be shredded in no time, right? So there are ways to incorporate this into what you're already doing and not add a whole lot of time. So I mentioned the donation bin. A lot of times we think if we are going to let go of items, then, okay, great. Well, now I have to take this item to donate. Where am I going to even put it? Then I have to make a special run. But if in your home you have one area, and for me, a lot of times I will have like an ottoman, one of the storage ottomans that opens up, and I just put any donations in there and it closes back up and nobody knows what's in there. And that way, when it gets full, I can just take all those items and drop them off to the donation center, just put them in my trunk. Next time I'm out driving past there, I drop them off. But I don't have to do individual small runs, right? So as I find that pot, I just take it over, put it in the donation bin ottoman, and then continue with my day. So it's not taking a lot of time. So that's another way. With the Paper Path course, we have the workbook that is coming up as one of the things that is available to everybody who has the Paper Path course. Well, with that workbook, it's all broken down into small steps, and most of these steps are 5 minutes or less. So you can just keep that workbook open to whatever your next small step is. And then when you have 5 minutes, or whenever you happen to walk by, or maybe you add it to your calendar, and there's a 10-minute block on your calendar, you just look at what the next small step is and just do that. And since you don't have to think about what the next small step is, it's already broken down for you. It's very easy. You can just look at the workbook, see, okay, well, my next step is to watch the 2-minute video. Super easy, right? And the link is right there. Or maybe your next step is, oh, my next step is to just name my short-term files. And here's the blueprint to do it. So I can just see if there's anything I want to adjust, or do I like the blueprint exactly as it is? So having that open to whatever your next small step is makes it super easy to do. So those are some ways that you can incorporate your small steps into your day. Those are 3 ways. Like I mentioned, if you are a member of the Paper Path, then at noon, I will be in your private campfire group or in your online library. You can also find the link to watch through YouTube, and we will talk about 4 more ways that you can add this to your day. Sound good? And if you want to make sure not to miss any lives or events, then text the word LOOP, L-O-O-P, to the phone number 407-214-4420, and you'll get text event reminders. So I'll remind you 30 minutes before I go live and things like that. All right, so I see that Peg says, perfect. She says, I clicked on the link for this talk a few minutes early. While waiting, I walked over to my bedroom and made the bed. Yay, that is fantastic. That's a perfect way to incorporate a small step, right? You're waiting anyway, so just do something while you're waiting. I love that. Thank you for sharing. What a success. Lenore says, your presentation offers such clarity and simplicity, compassion and understanding. Thank you for the compliment as well. You're so welcome, Lenore. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for being part of this group. I love having you here. Lori says, got an important phone call, so I'll listen to the replay. Absolutely fine. That's why there's replays, right? Terry says, thank you for all you do to help. You're so welcome. And Lynn says, what was number 2? I missed it. Perfect segue into the recap, right? So here is a recap. Now, first off, remember next week, I think it's next week. Yes, next week, March 21st through 27th, we have the free challenge. And this free challenge, we are building our incoming paper system, the action file. Now, you probably already have all the supplies at home. It's not something you have to buy a lot of stuff to do. And we will be walking through step by step, little tiny steps each day that take a couple minutes to do. And by the end of the week, you will have an incoming paper system and you'll know how to use it. Sound good? So register to join me. Go to suzannakaye.live, not .com, but .live, L-I-V-E, /join-the-challenge. The link is also in the description. And that challenge is available until the 27th. But every morning I'll shoot you an email with a small task. Every afternoon we will have a live video to support that. And I'll share extra resources and extra help for you and your papers throughout that challenge. So I hope that you can join me and register. So the recap of what we talked about so far, right? Our focus is to do those tiny steps throughout the day instead of thinking of things as a big project. A big project, we're always waiting for the time to do. And it's always, I will do it when I get around to it, which never happens, right? So if you're breaking it down into small steps, you can fit small steps into each day. There's very few times where we can't finish it, fit at least one small step into our day, right? So this gets your projects done, and try to focus just on one project at a time as much as you can. So if your project is something like decluttering your home, even if that's not one of your top projects, this is just good to do anyway, and I do it all the time. Make sure that you are asking yourself decision-making questions throughout the day. So as you come across items, if you open your desk and you see a pencil and an eraser, ask yourself declutter questions. How many erasers do I have in my desk? Do I need all of them in my desk? Or can I donate some, throw some away, put them somewhere else in overstock. So if you're asking those declutter questions throughout the day, then you're constantly decluttering, which keeps your home so much leaner and, I won't say meaner, leaner and cleaner. There we go. Now, number 2, we talked about using something like the small step cards. And I mentioned if you're interested in these, stop by the website, suzannakaye.com, and click on the store. You can find them there. But the concept behind these, you can create your own if you prefer. It's listing out what your small steps are ahead of time. And then each day, you can find a time in your day to just randomly pull one of the small steps. Like this one, choose 5 pieces of scrap paper, old notes, envelopes, etc., and shred or recycle them. So you can just grab one of the small steps towards your project and do it really fast. So this is what makes it easy because it takes your brain out of the system, which we like, right? So you take your brain out of the system. You already know what small steps need to be done. You can just grab one small step and do that one really quickly, and you will make progress towards your project. So you could use the small step cards or make your own if you prefer. Doesn't matter, but it's just super easy to be able to grab one and pull. And then you also, if you're doing it at the beginning of the day, especially, you feel like you've accomplished something already in minutes. And then 3, keep it easy to access. So if your project is something where you have to pull a lot of things out and then do a lot of setup and then do a lot of cleanup afterwards, it's going to be difficult to make progress with small steps. But if you're able to leave a piece of it out, such as I talked about the wood sign, where I could leave just the pieces out that needed to be painted and paint just one color every once in a while. So I'd take 2 minutes and just grab the yellow paint, a paintbrush, paint all the pieces that need to be yellow, and then rinse out my brush and I'm done. So 5 minutes maybe. If you can leave out your project and just do bits of it, then that's going to make it so much easier because then you aren't pulling things out, putting things away. You don't want to leave out every project. This only works with maybe 1 or 2. Another example would be your Paper Path course workbook. If you're working through the Paper Path course, leave your workbook open to whatever the next step is. So that way, when you have a minute, you can look at what's the next step. Okay, so the next step is I just need to label my action file folders. Great. In 5 minutes, you can label the action file folders, check that off, walk away, and you're done. Or leaving a pile of shredding right next to your shredder. Every time you walk by your shredder, pick up a piece of paper and shred it. And your shredding will get done. So make your decision-making questions throughout the day as you come across things. Break things down into your small steps and have them written down so you don't have to think about what they are and just pull one and do one every once in a while. And then keep it easy to access. So that way you can find exactly all the things that you need to do something super, super fast instead of needing a lot of setup and takedown. And make sure to join me for the free challenge on Monday. You can register now for the incoming paper challenge where we will make an action file. And I will show you step by step how to make and use your action file for all of your incoming papers. So all that mail, all those papers that wander in, any action papers you have, all those to-do papers, one spot that can handle all of them so easily. All right, so I see Cindy says, I have an appointment at 11:30. How long is the Paper Path group for? The Paper Path group, it will start in about 30 minutes in the campfire, and usually it runs about 30 minutes. So I try not to make it last too long, but you can also always catch the replay in your online library. Or there's a podcast version of it as well. Shortly after it ends, I also put it on the podcast page so you can listen to it if you wanted to, while you're driving, while you're waiting in the appointment lobby, whatever. Hopefully that helps. Lady says, I have 3 huge projects in my sunroom: my desk, papers, file system, sewing area, crafting area. Small steps. That's wonderful. It sounds much more manageable, right? You're doing great. Cindy says, hi, Susie, please repeat how the Pathfinder group members can see your additional tips again. I have a new phone that's made this more of a challenge to hear all the great tips you have. Thank you. Oh, absolutely. So there are 2 ways that you can access it, whichever you prefer. You can go to Facebook and then just go to the Campfire Facebook group. That's the private group just for the Pathfinder members. So Path members, We call you Pathfinders. You have your own private Facebook group, and you will find the live will stream right in that Facebook group if you'd like. If you don't want to go through Facebook, you can also go to SuzannaKaye.com and then click login. Once you log into your online library and go to your membership section, then right in there, you will see the live events has a tab. You can also find all of your replays there, and you can watch them right from your phone if you want. So check those two out. Hopefully that will help you. And if you have any issues at all, then just email me at hello@SuzannaKaye.com. Sound good? You've got this. Rosita says, thank you for all your good advice, suggestions, and encouragement. You're so welcome. Well, Pathfinders, I'll see you in about 30 minutes over in the campfire group. Everyone else, the time for these videos will be changing in about a month. I don't have an exact date yet, but just a heads up, these will move to 11:30 soon. So that way, the Pathfinders won't have to wait with a big gap between the public and their Pathfinders videos. So just make a note that eventually these will change to 11:30 instead of 11 Eastern time. Sound good? Awesome. Well, keep being absolutely amazing. Make sure to register for that challenge. I hope to see you there. Even if you've built your action file before, this is a great time to touch it up and all that good stuff. Cindy says, thank you. You're so welcome. Lynn says, thanks for another great inspirational talk. You're so welcome. I love you so much. I hope you make this an amazing day and keep doing it one small step at a time. You've got this, beautiful. I love you. Bye now. Oh, sorry, Cindy, really quickly, Cindy asked the question, nobody tracks how many times I do this action file challenge, right? You can do it as many times as you want. I love it. The more, the better. Bye, loves.